Hi again! This video blog is about cake truffles, also known as cake balls, and it's also about cake pops. I've tried many techniques for making cake balls before perfecting it, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make successful truffles and pops. First off, start with cake that has already been baked and cooled. I'm using chocolate cupcakes without the frosting. It doesn't matter what shape or size pan you use to bake the cake, because we're going to break it down into tiny crumbs. How much frosting we add to the cake depends entirely on how moist the cake is. The more moisture, the less frosting will be needed. In order to determine that, I take a few cake crumbs and roll it into a ball. If a ball forms on its own, you don't need that much frosting. But if the ball can't hold its form, it will need more frosting. The frosting acts as a binder, or glue if you will, to keep the shape of a sphere. As you can see, I'm using store-bought frosting. The reason for this is primarily because it is stable at room temperature and has a longer shelf life. If you use fresh frosting, which you can, you will have to keep the cake balls in the refrigerator and eat them immediately, as they are more likely to perish sooner than later. So because my cake is pretty moist, I'm adding only 2 heaping spoonfuls of frosting. There is no exact measurement because it's not necessary. This is something you can eyeball. Really, what we're trying to do is make the cake crumbs stick together a little easier. Now just incorporate the frosting into the crumbs to form a large mound of cake. Roll bite-sized pieces of cake into a sphere and place it on a baking sheet. This is what one cake ball split in half looks like. Let me show you again what it looks like with red velvet cake. It's the same process. Break down the cake into crumbs, check the cake for moisture, add some frosting, roll into balls. Afterwards, I place the cake into the freezer while I get the candy coating ready. I'm using white bark candy coating. It melts pretty easily. Just pop it in the microwave for 30-second intervals while stirring in between each interval. Once the candy is all melted and smooth, the cake truffles are ready for dipping. I use a toothpick that I dip into the candy coating prior to stabbing into the cake ball. This is so the toothpick can be easily removed from the cake after dipping. The reason why I do not use a fork like many other blogs tell you to is because it doesn't give the truffle a nice even coating as this technique does. I dip and then rotate swiftly to get the excess coating off quickly, then place on the baking sheet to dry. I twist the toothpick out and dab a drop of candy coating to cover the hole and dash on the sprinkles. To make the cake pops, I do the same thing with a stick. I dip the stick in chocolate and stab the cake balls and leave them in there to harden. I dip the cake pops in the same manner as the truffles. Then I fashion a cake pop holder by making holes in an empty shoebox. So let's take a look at some of this video footage to see what I did.